Welcome, everybody, and thank you very much for coming to our webinar today. I'm just sharing the slide, and the topic this afternoon is understanding child protection in schools, and we have Dr. Sadiku Bashiru here with us. So the housekeeping rules, please use the chat box to ask the presenter questions that are related to the theme or topic of the webinar only. If you put lots of questions in there, we will hopefully have time at the end for questions. Please don't share any personal information like addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, and please be respectful at all times. You'll get a certificate if you complete the feedback form at the end. That will be provided in the chat box. And all these webinars are recorded and available to watch. They'll be ready 24 to 48 hours after it's ended. Okay, so our speaker today is Bashiru Sadiku. He had got his bachelor's degree in 2001, then he got a master's in 2006. In 2017, he got his PhD in educational management, and he's held various leadership roles in great institutions across Nigeria, like the ST British School and the Caleb British International School. At the moment, he's the principal and school coordinator at Chiron International Schools. And very importantly for the topic of this video, he's also a counsellor and a certified international student advisor. Okay, over to you, Bashiru.
Yes, good evening or good day, everyone. Today we're looking at a very important topic. A very wonderful session is going to be, and at the end of the session, we should be able to understand the definition, the meaning of child protection. We'll also look at the various types of child abuse prevalent in our schools today. We'll also look at some typical symptoms, signs of abuse we find in schools across Africa, across the world as well. Okay, and we also look at guidelines for handling disclosure and reporting abuse. Okay, and we're also going to look at the non-negotiable staff responsibility for people who are in charge of taking care of children. And at the end of the day, we look at possible solutions and various help we can get to deal with child protection. Next slide. Okay, to start with, we want to find out what is child protection. Okay, and we just want to ask participants this very question: do you have any rule or laws protecting children in your country? Please write on the chat box. You have any rule in your country? There are laws in your country? Yes, we have rules. We have protect children. Good. Yes, good. That is fantastic. So in most of the countries, today there are rules and laws, okay, for child protection. And in Nigeria too, where I'm resident right now, we have the Child Right Law of Lagos State, Nigeria. So there are laws guiding people working with children, especially in schools. Yes, I can. In Senegal, there are laws. In Kenya, there are laws. Okay, from Buhu, they said no corporal punishment in schools. Yes, that is very correct. Okay, so next slide. Let's continue. What is child protection? Okay, when you say child protection, it is a practice that ensures that children who are accessing services are safe. The key word there, children accessing services are safe, and ensuring that potential abuse, neglect, okay, and concern about the children we're taking care of, about the children's well-being, are identified and appropriately responded to. As educators, as leaders in the educational sector, we're dealing with children. And one key one key job we have to do dealing with children is to ensure that the children we are caring for, the children we are dealing with, they are safe. And that is what brings about safeguarding of children in our care. Okay. And I just want to say that child protection policy is key for every school in Nigeria, in Africa, across the world. And I want to encourage schools today that don't have the child protection policy in place, that should ensure that they have child protection policy in place. And the mandate for schools across the world now is to make sure that every child is safeguarded, every child is protected in all our schools. Next slide. Why do we need child protection law? Yes, if we can get responses in the chat box. Why do we need child protection law in our schools? Children are vulnerable and often can't protect themselves. That is very correct. Yes. From Gambia, child of human rights. Yes, to ensure children are adequately protected. Very correct. To give them opportunity to succeed. That is very true. Okay, there are some horrible people out there. Very, very correct. Okay, yes, we need, yes, it serves as a guide to both teachers, protect them from all. Very correct. Very, very correct. Thank you for your contribution and thank you for your ideas. Next slide. The key reason we need child protection law is to prevent abuse. Abuse are prevalent in schools today. Schools across the globe, abuse are prevalent. And I want our participants to please type on the chat box, what are the 4 major types of child abuse that we have? The 4 major types of child abuse we have. We can write in the chat. You'll be dealing with children, you'll be dealing with teenagers. Yes, very correct. Physical abuse, very correct. Emotional abuse, that's very correct. Yes, verbal abuse, okay. Yes, very correct. Sexual abuse, very correct. Yes, thank you for all your contribution. We move on to the next slide. Yes, we have for the 4 major types of child abuse. Okay, this is a quiz. Can we be able to mention them? We have punishment, we have beating, we have physical abuse, mental abuse, withholding money, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, and all that. Yes, Linda says 6 and 8, 6 and 8. 6 neglect, okay. Emotional abuse, yes. Any other contribution? Which of these are the main category of child abuse? The main. There are 4 main. Which of these are the 4 main we have? Somebody has mentioned 2. He mentioned neglect. Okay. All right. 3, 4, 6, 7. Physical abuse. Okay. Emotional abuse, sexual abuse, and neglect. Very correct. Let's move on to the next slide. The next slide. 4 major categories of abuse. All right. We have number 1, physical abuse. Number 2, emotional abuse. Number 3, sexual abuse. And number 4, neglect. These are the 4 major categories of child abuse. But do we have any other that can be included? Yes, you can write on the chat box. Do you have any other forms that can be included? Apart from this major 4, any other ones that can be included? Yes, mental abuse. Mental abuse, okay. From Rokia Mohammed. Yes, 2 is included in 1. Yes, yes, physical abuse. Verbal abuse, yes. Ngozi Chinaka, thank you. Forced truancy. Yes, verbal abuse. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your contribution. Let's move on. The next slide. All right. Now, it is very important for us to be able to identify the various symptoms that can be traceable to the major types of abuse. So what do these types of abuse consist of? Okay, physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, and neglect. So we have 8 indicators. Okay, so we need to be able to trace these indicators to the major types of abuse. Making a child feel frightened or in danger, showing a child pornography, not meeting a child's physical or psychological need, shaking a child, deliberately making a child feel worthless, deliberately making a child ill. So we need to iterate. 4 is A. 4, shaking a child. That is physical abuse. Very correct. Yes, any other contribution? 4 is A. Yes, any contribution? 1, mental abuse. Okay, but not part of the major 4. Okay, 1 is B, making a child feel frightened or in danger. Yes, that's emotional abuse. Okay, emotional abuse. Yes, very correct. Thank you, Rehan. 7, 3 is D. 3 is D, not meeting the child's physical or psychological need. 3 is D. Okay, neglect. Right, very correct. 4, shaking a child, physical abuse. Thank you for your contribution. I'm very happy we are aware of this very topic. 5 is B. 5, deliberately making a child feel worthless. Emotional abuse. The next slide. Thank you for your contribution. Next slide, please. Yes, this a key summary of what the exercise we just did before now. Okay, physical abuse, we have 4 and 6. Emotional abuse, we have 1 and 5. Sexual abuse, we have 2 and 7. And neglect, we have 3 and 8. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Yes. We now come to a critical session now. How can we tell if a child is suffering from abuse? What are the test signs? Dealing with children, coming across children in schools, in the school, in the class, in the boarding house, okay, in the school community. How will you know as an educator, 21st century educator, how will you know a child is suffering from abuse? You can put that in a chat box. When a child is always withdrawn and silent, a withdrawn child will tell you this one, something is wrong emotionally. Yes. Withdrawal. Yes. Very correct. Academic level. Okay. By attitude. Okay. When a child is very, very aggressive, when a child is always violent. Okay. Refuse to go to school. Very correct. A child refuses to go to school. There's something wrong. A child is hungry, scared on his body. It must have been dealt with at home. His child is always silent. Wonderful, wonderful. Your response is unexplained marks on the body. A child doesn't talk. Refuse to eat. Something is wrong. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Shy to tell. Yes. Do we? Yes. Then what can we do about it? We know the test signs. We know the symptoms. We know, we know. Then what do we do about it? It has done complete homework. Yes. Next slide. Withdrawn. Yes. Okay. So I want to speak this time around from my own context. Okay. Living in Lagos, Nigeria. Example of child abuse in my own country. We are beating, caning as a form of discipline. Caning as a form of discipline. Verbal abuse, use of delegated remarks. Shaming students for poor performance, especially on assembly, exploitation for grade. A teacher, a lecturer want to get money from the students for grade, want to get favor, want to give money. It's child abuse. As educators, we don't do that. Lack of supervision, that is neglect. As an educator, it is imperative that one of your key jobs is to supervise the children, okay? And when you are not doing that, the result to child abuse. So lack of supervision. Then we also have physical bullying. Physical bullying is like everywhere in schools today, across the world. Bullying. So every schools across the world should have anti-bullying policy, because bullying, children bully, their peers, okay? Teacher bully students. Even students also bully teacher, okay? That's segregation. Every child should be included in education. Segregation will result to child abuse. When you segregate, okay, the high flyers, you want to separate them and you deal with them separately. As as a teacher, you're teaching in class and you're asking questions and you always direct your question to the high flyers. And the average students and the struggling students are neglected. You segregate, you separate them. That is abuse. Then we have unequal treatment. Students are to be treated equally. So in my own context, these are some of the examples of child abuse. Next slide. All right, so we want to do something now. Look at quiz number 2. We're looking at the signs now. What signs will you attribute to physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, and neglect? We have 4 of them. Acts either inappropriate or taking care of other children. Injury appears to have a pattern. Okay. Olupuji said 2 is A. 2. Injury appears pattern marks A. Okay. Ngozi 2 is aged. Okay. 3 is C. 3 is C. Okay. 3 is C. 2 is D. Neglect. Okay. 1 is B. Emotional abuse. Very correct. Very correct. Let's move on to the next slide. The next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes. As educators, as teachers, have you been confronted with a child telling you a situation where he or she has been abused? A child disclosing a case of abuse. Then what do you do? A disclosure. And teenagers nowadays, they go through a lot. Children go through a lot. Students go through a lot of violence, psychological violence, emotional violence. They go through a lot. And it can be shocking. It can be shocking. But we need to take courage. We need to take courage, and we need to encourage the children. We need to take courage. We need to remain calm, and we need to support them. So when we have disclosure, what do? There are certain things we should not do. Okay, Ngozi is saying can be shocking, but remain calm. Yes, very correct. And for this webinar, there's a framework that every educator needs to follow. A framework. Okay, Mariama said remain calm and show support. Yes, that is very correct. When faced with a disclosure, as a support staff dealing, with children, as a teacher, okay, as a school owner, okay, as a counselor, what do? We call it the 4R framework. You receive, you reassure, you react, you record. Receive. As the child is disclosing, to you, how do you receive the information? You receive the information, you reassure the child, okay? You react. The child must see reaction, from you. You need to reassure the child that that you are going to take care of everything, and the people that are in charge of dealing with issues, okay, will be, we hear of the case. Listening is good. You must listen to the child. Okay, don't let the child know that you are afraid or something is surprising. No, listen to the child attentively. When you listen to the child attentively, that is the receive framework. Okay, and you need to reassure the child that the issue will be dealt with. Okay, the child is looking for you to react. Okay, you must be confidential. Okay, then yes, rephrase. Reassure the child. Yes, very correct. Support him. Yes, teach. Yes, children their challenges. You encourage them to speak up. Okay, yes, teach them to be confident. That is part of the attitude we teach in school. Okay, teaching is a transfer of knowledge, attitude, and skills. Confidence is key. Okay. Okay, then recording is very important. Language, say it the way it was said. Okay, say it the way it was said. Okay, take note of what the child is saying. Keep your notes. Okay, very, very important. And the way it was said to you, take note of it. And the slang, the language used by the child, record that very language. It's very, very important. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Okay, what else can we do? Or who else can help? Okay, in your school, in the university, okay, is there anyone responsible for child protection? So let's contribute in the chat box. Can you ask someone to be responsible for child protection? Can your director help? Can other teachers help? Are there any organization that can help as well? Okay, yes. Mark said we have a committee, yes. A safeguarding lead can help. That's very good, very correct. School counselor, yes, that is part of a duty or part of his duty. Yes. Who else can help? Yes, safeguarding lead. Yes. Talking to parents. Yes. Parents who can help. Yes. Supervisors. Anti-bullying committee. Yes. And we follow the 4R. Thank you. Thank you. You are all very correct. Accounting officers, as a staff of the school, can help. In fact, the summary of the whole matter is that every member of the school community can help. Okay, so we need help. So, as teachers, okay, teachers teaching children, here are suggestions that we have. Because when we talk of child protection, we're talking of protection offline and protection online. And I want to encourage our teachers to go through this link, to gather, great information, okay, via our Teaching English UK, okay, on the child protection. That has to do with teen protection online. Okay, so you get valuable information there that will help you as you deal with children. Okay, yes, and I want you to understand as well that it is a webinar. Okay, it is a webinar, so you go through it and you get a lot, from it. Next slide. So apart from this, we also have a new British Council English Connect course on safeguarding. Safeguarding is another name for child protection. Safeguarding, www.teachingenglish.org.uk, training on safeguarding learners online. Safeguarding learners online. Please, I want us to register for this course. The course is ongoing, okay? And you can download the safeguarding learners online workbook, okay, for your use. You will find a lot of useful information that you can take away from there. So please register, okay, and be part of the program, okay? And at the end of the day, we are going to share the link. We will share the link and you join via the link, okay? Thank you. Thank you. Very important, safeguarding. Okay, you learn a lot. There's a lot you find in this professional training. Right, very important. As we conclude this very evening, educators, people dealing with children must know that they are responsible. Okay, responsibility as a teacher is key when we talk about child protection. Okay, responsibility, very, very important. Okay, how you see, as a teacher, as an educator, you have a duty to play as you deal with children. You don't hit a child, and by international standard, you don't touch a child. Don't physically assault a child. Okay, and you don't show differential treatment while teaching in class. Okay, you don't do that. You treat every child the same. Even children that are under same special need, let them be included. That's why we have inclusive education. Everybody must be carried along. Nobody must be left behind. So your teaching strategy should carry everybody along. Okay, you don't shame a child, you don't humiliate any child, you don't use language or make suggestions that are derogatory, inappropriate, offensive, or abusive while dealing with children. You don't develop a relationship that could be seen as exploitative. Okay, you don't do that. You don't expose children to pornography. You don't do that. You don't allow children to take part in activities that are illegal, unsafe. As teachers, you are training future champions. You are training the next generation of leaders. That's some things we should not do. We don't condone taking of alcohol, illegal drug. Okay, very, very important. Next slide. There are a lot of them. A lot of them. It's a taboo for a teacher to sleep in the same room as a child. No, don't offer transport to a child alone in a car. Okay, so there's a law. Don't enter a child's private home unless there is a responsible adult present in that room or in that home. Let allegation go unreported. You must not let it go unreported. You must escalate it and get it resolved. You agree to keep information. Never. You don't do that. You don't agree to keep information relating to abuse of a child. Confidential. You follow the procedure and report the concern. Okay. Yes, I think let's turn now to solutions. Solutions are key. And as educators this evening, you will agree with me. Education is key. Teachers need education about personal safety. Teachers, adults dealing with children need education about boundaries and how they can recognize and report abuse. But how do we do this? The how is very important. Next slide. How do we do this? Next slide. Oh, I want you to read about the positive steps some teachers are taking. The ITEF Global Issues Special Interest Group, the GC publication. So please, let's go through it. You will have a lot to take away from there. Okay? The resources are key. A lot of projects across Sub-Saharan Africa that will be of help as well. We have Break the Silence Africa, BSA, empowering girls to say no. Patricia Benishua, Ghana. We have poster role play by Mata Ezunia Fisri, Zambia. Breaking tattoo with menstruation, Catherine Unjua. Sexual health, research into GFM, teenage pregnancy, child labor, and early marriage. Our teachers in Guinea-Bissau. So let's go through them. The links, you can find the link. You have the link, go through them, get a lot from there. And I tell you, your career will never be the same. Next slide. Yes. What else can we do? Teachers, educators, and school leaders, we can do it. We can do more than enough. We can do a lot. Okay, like in Nigeria, like in my school in Nigeria, 2 weeks ago, we had the Children's Day, 27th of May. In fact, it was a day for fun. The children, were treated to a fun show, to like a fun party. Let them see how important they are. Let them see the value. A lot of them that are emotionally down, were encouraged again, motivated, inspired to continue. Okay, let's go ahead. We have International Day for African Child, 16 June. Let's observe it. Let's celebrate our children. Next slide. Child Protection Week, South Africa is May and June. Okay, let's celebrate these very children. Next slide. Time is fast spent. Next slide. Okay. I also want us to go through this link as well. A lot to learn from. A lot to learn from that will also be of help, to us. Let's create a safe world for all our children. Next slide. Next slide, because of my time. Okay, we are going to share this slide, with you. Okay, we share this slide, with you so that you can have them and you go through them. I have a lot of suggestions here. Suggestions for everyone. Okay, education and awareness, key for teachers. For teachers, key. Legislation, policy, teachers, educators. Let's put pressure on the government. Come up with policy that will help these children. There must be improved access to education, healthcare, nutrition. Schools can help. In your school, there should be policies that will help in the area of healthcare and nutrition. There should be child protection services in school. Okay, if they don't exist, please, as you go back to your school, you make sure you have one. Community engagement, engage everybody. Children must be saved. Poverty alleviation, the root cause must be addressed. So please, let's take this home. Address the root cause of poverty alleviation. Okay. All right. So, does anyone have any more question? Yes. If you have question, please go to the chat box. Go to the chat box. You can ask your question. Just drop it on the chat box and we'll attend to them. Okay. International collaboration is key. Government, NGO is very key. Okay, so I have to bring my presentation to an end, and I want Michelle to take over from here.
Thank you so much, Bashiru.
Yes,
we're going to have time for questions in a moment, but I'm going to invite Michelle Tiongan now to cover the next few slides. She's the expert from the British Council on Child Protection and Safeguarding. Over to you, Michelle.
Hello, hi everybody. I'm going to try and turn on my camera. I'm not sure if you can see me. Can you guys see me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
So hello everybody. My name is Michelle Chongan. I am from the British Council. I'm actually the program manager for English Connect in Senegal. And I am also in charge of safeguarding at the British Council office in Dakar. So, for those of you who don't know, we're just going to talk about safeguarding very briefly, and then I will share some links with you in the chat if you want to learn some more. Okay? So, safeguarding is a term used to denote measures to protect the health, well being, and human rights of individuals, especially children and vulnerable adults. So, today, with Bashir, we talked about children, and we define them as, people, human beings who are younger than 18 years old. And I know the majority changes from one country to another, but the official definition is people who are under 18-year-old. Okay, so it's a child who is just born until he reaches 18. And then we also have what we call vulnerable adults. So vulnerable adults are adults who are over 18, but for any reason they're unable to take care of themselves or protect themselves against significant harm or exploitation. So it could be maybe some disabled adults, it could be adults with some kind of mental health problem that make them, very vulnerable to abuse. Okay, next slide, please. Sorry, Linda, next slide. Okay, thank you. So at the British Council, we are really committed to apply safeguarding measures. So, for example, we are valuing, respecting, and listening to children and adults. For example, we do have teaching center where children and adults come to us for classes in English. So we try and maintain a safe environment for those people who come to us. And we also have lots of measures to protect them. And we do share the safeguarding best practices and information, whether it is online or face to face. And we also intervene when we suspect any case of abuse in the center, or if we're having any type of events in and out of our center in Dakar. So we do have a zero tolerance approach to abuse, sorry, and safeguarding. We think it's everyone's business. Usually, there's this saying that if you see something, say something. We do work in that belief. If we see something that is not, maybe it's not totally abused, but it's not totally kosher, like they say, it's not totally right, we try and intervene in the best way possible, always in secret also, because we don't want to how do you say we do not want to expose the person who are involved, so we tend to do everything in secret with the strict confidence as possible. Okay, next slide, please. So our policy considers two level of intervention. Like I said, we do, when we see something, we intervene. So it's preventive. So what we mean by preventive is we try to make some safeguarding policy in place that will prevent any type of abuse. So I will give you for example, something very basic. In the British Council, let's say we try and have a safe environment for the children, so we do not expose them to adults who might be a danger, who might be a danger to them. For example, when we hire teachers, we do have background checks. We don't let anybody just come in and teach to the children. For example, that's one thing we do. When we have events like webinars, such as this one, we ask you to register online. It is not only to have your email address so we can get in touch with you, but it's also to make sure that we share our code of conduct with you, so that you understand that there are certain rules that you should follow. And even when we started the webinar, Linda was nice enough to give you the housekeeping rules. So all of this is part of preventive measures for safeguarding. Okay. And the second one is responsive. So we take actions when there is something happening. When we suspect harm or abuse or neglect, we do intervene. And most of the thing is starts with communicating with the person involved and try and identify the problem. And then we also have a reporting website where we go and report the incident. And we do have a whole team of safeguarding, which is regional, who gives us advice on how to deal with certain, safeguarding problems. So sometimes it can escalate all the way where we have to maybe get in touch with the police and things like that. But unfortunately, so far in Senegal, we never had to do that. We just deal with the safeguarding issues we had in house. So, like I said, I am the safeguarding focal point in Senegal. So whenever something is happening, people have to come to me. But we work as a team to have preventive measures and also responsive measures. Okay, so it's everyone's business. All right, next slide. So there are some links that I would like to give you, because today we're not talking only of safeguarding, we're talking mainly of child protection. But I just wanted to let you know that this is what the British Council is trying to do. So if you are interested, I will share the link. I think Bashiru shared some earlier. There's an online training you can take that will give you more insights in the topic. And there are also some links that I would like to share with you concerning e-safety, because nowadays more and more, especially after COVID, we realize that we necessarily do not have to be face to face with the learners. Sometimes we have to use the internet, sometimes we have to use Zoom and all that. So I would like to share some link on e-safety for your learners. And maybe later on I will if I will send you some links also for the teachers that you are, that may help you in your classroom if ever you have to deal with working online with your students. Okay, so I think that's it for me today. Just wanted to share really quickly about safeguarding, because there was a relation with Bashiru's presentation. And if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand and then ask them. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you
Yeah.
so much, Michelle and Bashiru. I've already counted 8 questions from the chat, so I think we'll take them first. And I know, David, you put your hand up, but let's have a look at the questions in the chat first. And these questions can go to Bashiru and Michelle, I think, if that's okay. The first question was from Ngozi. She said, what about with young children? She teaches in early years. So how do you get children's confidence to talk about these huge issues of abuse if they are very, very young, early years children? Any ideas?
Okay, if you're dealing with very young children, it is all about the system that is in place. Okay, once you have a perfect system in place, and education and the way you relate with the children, you are the one teaching them. Okay, and because you are teaching them, the most important duty of a teacher, you understand the children you are teaching. Once you have a perfect understanding of every child in your class, then there's no way you will not know what is happening. If there's anything you are not sure of, you will know, because you are dealing with them. You are the one grooming them, you are the one training them, you are the one mentoring them, you are the one tutoring them. So you will know what is strange. Okay, and children, we need to build their confidence, self-esteem. Okay, you ask them question in class, they respond to you. In the same way too, you educate them and you let the children talk to you and let them see you. Let them see you as a father figure, a mother figure in the school. It's just like in my own school, okay, my office, I'm the principal and the school coordinator. My door is open. You can't see my door shut. My door is not shut, it's open. Okay, for both myself and the children. Children come to my office every time and I listen to them.
Okay.
Okay, so
we have several more questions, I'm afraid, and I know this is a huge issue, and it's been great to see all the interaction in the chat today. So loads of excellent ideas. Let's move on a bit quickly to try and cover as many questions as possible. There are two questions about what do we do. Like, how do we manage children who don't follow instructions? And how are learners disciplined if they transgress? So if we're not caning and beating children, what are the other options? Could you give us a few, Bashiru?
Yes, caning is a no-no. In 21st century, caning is a no-no. There are other options you can put in place. Number one is you have code of conduct for students. Very important. That code of conduct, students must sign, okay? The school counselor must go through the code of conduct with the students. Student must sign, okay? And the parents as well must sign. So if the students are aware that there's a relationship, there's an agreement between the school management and the parent, okay, signing the code of conduct, I think they will want to comply. When there's no rule, there's no offense, okay? So the code of conduct is number one, okay? And as a teacher, you are not only passing knowledge. Teaching is a transfer of knowledge, attitude, and skill. Three important things you're transferring, okay? So if you are teaching a children and the child, you know, the child is disrespectful, then you look back, change your strategy, change your methodology. I think that is very important. So there's a lot. Then for those that you don't cane, you can do community service, you can do deprivation. For children that like sports, but once they commit an offense, deprive them of sports. If you do that, in fact, those children will not commit offense again. I've done it in my school and it's working greatly.
Okay, great. It's good to have alternatives, isn't it? But it's not easy, is it? Nobody's saying this is easy. In fact, it's one of the most difficult topics. A couple more questions here. What happens if the child pleads you not to tell anyone? And on the other side of that, how best to communicate a case of abuse to the abused children's parents? So what happens after this? Are you going to keep it silent? How do you tell the parents? What's your advice on this?
You can't, it is an offense to keep it silent. Okay, so the parent must be aware. So you invite the parents, as the school principal, you invite the parents to your office, okay, and let the parents know this is what has happened, okay, and you ask the parent might have one or two things to say that will help the school. So you listen to the parent, and the school management and the parent will come together, look at the best way to address it, and the issue will be addressed. If the child needs to be punished, this disagreement, we punish the child, okay? And the child go through the normal, we go through the code of conduct that has been signed, and all the infractions that are there, and the punishments for each infractions, we have to apply them accordingly. Because if we don't show standard, then we are going to, bring down the standard for other children. And if other children sees that, yes, there's a corrective measure now, they will take correction, and they will not go into things like that.
Okay.
So
an interesting question
quiet,
here. How can we collaborate with NGOs on this big issue of safeguarding and child protection? Do you have any ideas?
Yes, like in Lagos, Nigeria, okay, I collaborate with Lagos State. Lagos State, they have an agency that deals with child right law. Okay, so when we're having a special program, we invite them. Having seminars, we invite them. Okay, we collaborate with them. We invite them to come and tell us how it is. They're the one dealing with the laws. So they come to our school, train the teachers, train the children. These are children's rights. This is non-negotiable. This is what you need to know. This is what you don't go here. So we we collaborate with them. Very, very important.
Great idea to get them to come into your school, isn't it? Yeah, great.
Yes.
There's a couple more questions here. Do you think keeping a child in a dark room is an acceptable form of punishment?
No, that is not acceptable in a dark room. No.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
And then there's another couple of questions. How can teachers keep children safe outside school? And there was a question from Pierre from Telegram as well. How can a teacher help a student facing problems at home? So inside the school is one thing, outside the school is something else. What can we do?
Yes, we organize programs for the parents. Okay, we let parents come into school. We organize programs for them on 21st century parenting. The children we have, these are what we discover, and parents, these are what we expect you to do at home. And if there's any strange thing you find at home, please feel free to call the school, because it's a two-way thing. Okay, parents are our stakeholders, so we communicate. Like in our school, we communicate with parents on a weekly basis. We let the parents know what their children are going through, and what the children will do next week, we let them know. So there is a two-way thing. So we collaborate with them to get the best out of the children.
Great. Okay, we've done all the written questions, most of them now. David Asuru, you've been waiting very patiently with your hand up. Would you like to unmute and ask your question verbally now? David, can you unmute? Maybe he's had his hand up too long. Yes. David, are you there?
Okay. David, we can hear you. Go ahead. Okay. No. Probably the network over there.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. Yeah, there's another question in the chat. What if the child is being abused by the parent and reports it to the teacher? Yes, these are some of the examples we've had already, aren't they? Okay. Yeah, I think we need to finish now anyway, because it's 1 minute to 6. We're just about done. Loads of questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for all of this. Thank you so much for attending. You will get the slides and you'll get the webinar recording as well. This is a huge topic and it's not easy. Nobody says it is. So please carry on exploring it and talking to lots of other people about it. Thank you so much, Bashiru and Michelle.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone else for coming.
Michelle, thank you.